Welcome to the Football Expert, the voice for college football and your home for NFL draft analysis, game breakdowns, bold predictions, scouting reports, and so much more. This is the ultimate destination for any college football fan looking for community here on YouTube. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so that way you never miss another video. And join the college football community all the way from California, Texas, Illinois, Michigan, and all the way here to South Carolina. Let's get to the video. Break. And we are back here once again with another video. Today we are looking at the Kentucky Wildcats and Will Stein's first year at the head coaching position there for Kentucky. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, like button, and comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Let me know what you think the Kentucky Wildcats will do. Let me know what you think the record will be. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Will Stein hire, honestly. And what do you think Kenny Mitchell at the quarterback position will do? Ty Bryant, do you think he'll improve on defense? What do we think the Kentucky program is going to look like this season? So let's get into it. First game of the year, a home game against Youngstown State. This is not going to be an automatic win. Obviously, there is a talent difference between an SEC school and Youngstown State. But what I will say is this: Youngstown State is one of the better FCS programs. So Kentucky cannot overlook this game completely. You got to get a win here. You got to fight for it. This is not going to be a game against like Prairie View A&M would be an example, or against a Bryan, or against a random one. Like, this is not going to be as easy. It's going to be about as difficult, I think, as a South Alabama game is going to be. So, which is later on in the season. But I do think that this is a win. Just don't overlook this game, is all I'm saying. Next up on the schedule is Alabama, a home game here. This is where I think it really relies a lot on two players. One of them is going to be Kenny Minchey, the transfer quarterback from Notre Dame, who battled with C.J. Carr to the very end. And I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'll say that. So I've seen Kenny Minchey play all of his snaps and then heard all but the practice reports and stuff like that, seen the guy commit to Notre Dame. He is a very talented quarterback and a much better runner than people expect. I think that Kentucky fans are getting used to him, but what I would say is this: if Will Stein trusts Kenny Minchey, I think Will Stein is one of the better offensive minds in college football. But can he turn that into being a good head coach is really the question. But I think if Will Stein trusts Kenny Minchey, then I think Will Stein is probably right in that. I think Kenny Minchey will be a good quarterback. But the other player is C.J. Baxter, the transfer from Texas, had about over 200 yards in the rushing attack for the Longhorns last year. Is coming in as a junior, I believe. Yep, junior. But I think the reason why I point him out here, it's going to be a home game. And there's always this game randomly when Kentucky plays Georgia. Let's say that for an example. 2 years ago, it was 12-13. A few years ago, it was 51-13. But then a couple years before that, it was 16-6. A year before that, it was 30-13. And then even last year, 35-14. So when this game is played at home, which is the 2 years that I was talking about previously, the 16-6 and the 12-13 losses, those were two number one ranked Georgia teams when Kentucky played them. I don't think Kentucky will be number one. I'm sorry. I don't think Alabama will be number one. But what I am saying is this: I think that this Alabama team could be in for some trouble if they overlook Kentucky. Obviously, this is not Mark Stoops' team. Obviously, it's a different team, different mentality. I don't know how the defense will look in a game like this. But all I'm saying is Kentucky is generally a team that does very good against way more talented teams at home. So just be on the lookout. Obviously, this happened with Texas last year, the 16-13, almost beating them. And it did not happen last year. That was kind of the problem, the difference between last year and part of the reason why Mark Stoops got fired. Ole Miss 7-point loss in the second week of the season. Texas 3-point loss there. Though if those were wins, 7-5 versus 2 ranked wins, I think probably saved Mark Stoops' job. Let me know if I'm wrong, Kentucky fans, but either way, I think this is a loss, but do always be aware of this. Same thing with the Youngstown State game. Just be aware. Road game against Texas A&M. I think this is an easy loss. I think Texas A&M is the better team. Marcel Reed, I think, really is going to cause a lot of issues for this defense. I do think that you're going to have to rely on guys like Grant Godfrey and Ty Bryant to be able to stop the rushing ability of Marcel Reed and even the passing attack. But I think Texas A&M is too talented to beat this, or too good for Kentucky to beat them. South Alabama, easy win here. I think that this will be a win, but we'll see as we get into the season. I think that this is a win, though. Road game in South Carolina, 35-13 was last year's score. I think that Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart in and of themselves are going to be too much for Kentucky to handle. And I do think South Carolina, with a lot less expectations on them, and Shane Beamer in particular, will have a better season with not having the expectations and the weight of those expectations on them. So therefore, I think that this is going to be a loss here once again for Kentucky. If this was a home game, I'd maybe be a little more convinced of a closer game, but I just don't see it. We'll see what happens, though. Home game against LSU. This is going to be an interesting one because I also could see this similar to Alabama game being a much closer game. Very similar to what I think the Ole Miss game was last year. I could see it be a lot closer than people expect. I think that LSU, Sam Leavitt is a good quarterback. They brought in Jordan Seaton as a left tackle. They brought in a lot of good pieces from all over the place. But the thing that I see with this specifically that I have a problem with is that LSU does not have, let me say it this way. LSU does not have the consistency built up the same way that Lane Kiffin did at Ole Miss. So I don't know if that culture is going to be as instituted. And obviously, it's both two first-year coaches. But I do think that this team will be a lot better than people expect in Kentucky, at least in terms of how close they play other teams that are high level. So I see this as a loss, but it could be a lot closer of a game and possibly even a win. We'll see. Road game against Oklahoma. This is a game that I think Kentucky will get destroyed in. Oklahoma has an excellent defense, maybe even the number one defense in the country, if not at least the number one defense in the SEC, probably, competing with Georgia and Texas, obviously, as well. But not to mention just that, I think that John Mateer will be a better quarterback this year, and I think they will get some more offensive production from that side of the ball. So I don't see this game being close. Vanderbilt at home, very interesting matchup. Obviously, 45-17 loss last year. So that's kind of part of what scares me is that when looking at this game the last 2 years, they have lost to Vanderbilt 20-13. They lost to Vanderbilt 45-17. And in 2022, when Kentucky was ranked as high as number 7 in the country, just before losing to Ole Miss, Vanderbilt later on in that season, what I'm saying is it's a talented Kentucky team. That team against Vanderbilt also lost, and then they beat them in 2023, 45-28. Kentucky has not had a lot of good luck with Vanderbilt. So even though this game is at home against a less talented Vanderbilt team than last year, I think that this game is much closer to a one-possession game, maybe even a two-possession game, but I do think Vanderbilt wins it. Bye week and then a road game against Tennessee. Tennessee's also coming off a bye week, so that kind of neglects any bye week advantage. It's also on the road. I think that UT does get the win here. Even though you had a couple games last year against Florida and Auburn, I think that prove that this Kentucky roster does have the ability to beat those teams at that level, but I just don't see it, so I see it as a loss. Home game against Florida. This was a very interesting matchup to pick, and I went back and forth on this one. And basically what I have for this one is Missouri and Florida. I have them split. I have them beating Missouri technically and losing to Florida. But if you want to convince me they beat Florida and lose to Missouri, yeah, that's fine. I think that they lose one of the two just because I don't think they win both. I picked them beating Missouri because I'm a little bit lower on Missouri. Obviously, Ahmad Hardy still a fantastic running back, obviously, with all the off-field stuff with him getting shot, and looks like he will thankfully be recovered and back to full strength. I'm glad to hear that. And so, therefore, I think Missouri is going to be a good team, but I do think Kentucky is going to get a win here later on in the season. But I just don't think it is going to be 2 wins at the end of it. Then a home game against Louisville. This was a 41-0 loss, a 1-point dog in this game, but a 41-0 loss. They lost to Louisville the year before that to 41-14. Kentucky needs to win this rivalry. They need to be able to beat Jeff Brown. They need to be able to show their prominence against the Louisville team. The problem is I just don't see them being able to do that. So I have this as a loss against Louisville, but I could see this game being closer depending on how the quarterback situation works out at Louisville, depending on what happens there. So that's going to wrap up today's video. Make sure that you hit one of the 2 videos down below and the subscribe button up here. Help me reach my goal of 6,600 subscribers by the end of July. As always, hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, guys.